Okay, so ready to dive into another one of these deep dives.
Absolutely. Lead the way. I'm fascinated to see what we've got today.
Yeah, this one's gonna be a weird one.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we're looking at the disappearance of Olivia Reynolds
Okay.
back in March 2018,
Okay.
and the source material we have for this one is the transcript from Unsolved Crime Tapes.
Right.
You know that show?
Yeah. I've heard it. I've heard it.
It's
Creepy stuff.
creepy. Yeah, and this episode is it's called "The Shadow in the Mirror," episode 7.
Okay. The shadow in the mirror.
Yeah, and I think going into these,
Right.
we always have to remember, yeah, these transcripts are only one side of the story.
Right. Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah. They're just a snapshot, and who knows what was left out or edited or
Yeah.
what the real context was for all of this.
Exactly, and they're definitely choosing, what to highlight.
Exactly.
But
Right.
I think that the things that they do highlight are just so fascinating
Oh, absolutely.
to sort of unpack and look at.
Yeah.
And this one in particular, I think, is just a really good example of how a case on the surface might seem fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Missing person
Mm.
gets so much weirder the more you look into it.
Yeah. The deeper you go, the more questions you have. Right.
Yeah, and I think this one is just like the title
The
suggests.
shadow in the mirror.
Yeah, it's all about the mirrors and reflections and sort of this sense of something being not quite right
Ooh, that's creepy.
with the nature of reality.
Yeah, I like it.
It's really interesting.
Okay, let's hear about Olivia then.
Okay, so we start with this 911 call, right?
All right.
That's usually where these things start.
Yeah.
And Olivia's 911 call, it's not what you expect.
Okay.
Like if you were to imagine, being in a situation where you felt threatened
Right.
and you were calling 911, you probably picture yourself, being panicked,
Right.
being loud, being frantic,
Mm.
yelling maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But Olivia's whispering,
Oh, that's creepy.
and she's describing seeing someone in her apartment,
Okay.
but only when she looks in the mirror.
Whoa, hold on, what? Only in the mirror.
Only in the mirror,
Yeah.
so not in the room itself.
Okay, so right off the bat, we've got something off about this.
Yeah, it's just so strange.
Yeah, I mean that really makes you question what was going on, right? Like, was this some kind of hallucination? Was it a delusion? Was she, misinterpreting something, or was there something else going on, something completely different?
Yeah, and that's a question that I think hangs over this entire case.
Right from the very beginning.
Yeah, because we get these glimpses into what might be happening, but we never get the full picture.
Right.
And so we're left to kind of fill in the blanks.
Yeah, with our own imaginations, which
Yeah.
is always a little bit terrifying with these kinds of cases.
Right. Yeah, and that's what makes it so compelling, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have this 911 call. Right. And
Yeah.
and they dispatch police officers, to her apartment.
Yeah.
And the transcript says they got there within 10 minutes of the call,
Okay, that's pretty quick.
which is pretty fast,
Yeah.
for a major city.
Yeah.
But when they get there, her apartment is locked
Lock.
from the inside.
Okay, hold on. So someone seeing something in the mirror calls 911.
Yeah.
Police arrive 10 minutes later, and the place is locked from the inside.
Exactly. And there's no sign of forced entry.
All right, so this is already getting strange.
Yeah. It's like she just vanished into thin air.
Yeah. I mean, the locked door, that's a classic element in these kinds of disappearances, right? It immediately throws a wrench in the works. It makes you question everything you think you know about the situation.
Totally. And it's not like, we're talking about a big house with multiple entrances and exits.
Right.
This is an apartment,
Yeah,
It's a relatively contained space.
exactly. So how do you disappear from a locked apartment like that? Where do you even begin to go with that?
Right. And that's not even the weirdest part.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. So they eventually get into the apartment
Okay.
and they find her phone there. Right. The 911 call was the last activity.
Right.
But there's also this message on the bathroom mirror.
A message? What kind of message?
It said, "Let me out."
Let me out. Written on the mirror, like with lipstick or something?
No, it was written in condensation.
Condensate, like from a shower or something.
Yeah, presumably.
That's so strange. I mean, why write a message like that in condensation on a mirror? It's so ephemeral, it's just going to disappear.
Right. And that's one of the things that I find so fascinating about this detail.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, does it?
No, it doesn't. And it makes you wonder, What was going through her mind in those moments before she disappeared?
Right, like was she trying to communicate with someone or something? Was it a cry for help? Was it a warning?
And why omniscient?
Yeah, why not write it on a piece of paper or
Right,
something?
right, or even on the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
But it had to be the mirror.
So there's definitely something significant about the mirror in all of this.
Absolutely. And it's not just this one instance of the mirror being weird.
Oh, there's more mirror stuff.
Yeah, so apparently this building that Olivia was living in,
Hmm.
it had kind of a reputation.
Oh, no. What kind of reputation?
It's a creepy reputation.
Oh, like haunted?
Yeah, pretty much previous tenants had reported all kinds of strange occurrences.
Like what? Give me some examples.
What, like whispers?
Whispers.
Yeah, like disembodied voices.
Okay, that's creepy.
Things moving on their own.
Okay, that's even creepier.
And you guessed it.
Seeing things in mirrors.
Yeah, seeing shadows or figures in the mirrors.
Okay, so it's not just Olivia. Then this building has a history of weirdness.
It does. And it makes you wonder, is it the building itself?
Right. Like, is there something about the structure or the location or the energy of the place that's causing these things to happen?
Or is it something that's attracting certain kinds of people to it?
Oh, that's interesting. Like maybe people who are already predisposed to these kinds of experiences are drawn to a place like this.
Yeah. Or maybe it's a combination of both.
It's a chicken and egg situation. You never really know which came first.
Right. And it's impossible to say for sure, but it's definitely a fascinating element to consider.
Absolutely. It adds a whole other layer to this whole thing.
It does. And it gets even weirder because apparently Olivia wasn't just experiencing these things passively.
Okay, what do you mean?
Well, according to the transcript, she was actually investigating the disappearances of 2 previous tenants.
2 previous tenants. So other people have gone missing from this building.
Yeah, and these tenants had also made strange emergency calls before they vanished.
So a pattern is starting to emerge here.
It seems that way, and it sounds like Olivia was trying to connect the dots.
Like she was trying to figure out if there was a link between these previous disappearances and what she was experiencing herself.
Exactly, and
Wow.
it makes you wonder how far down the rabbit hole she had gone.
Right. Like, was she onto something? Did she uncover something that maybe she shouldn't have?
We may never know.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have access to her journal entries or any of her research notes. That would be fascinating to see what she was thinking and what she was finding.
Yeah, but unfortunately all we have is the transcript, and even that's pretty limited.
Still, it's enough to get our imaginations going, right?
It is, and it's enough to make you wonder, what really happened to Olivia.
Okay, so let's talk theories then. What are some of the possibilities that they put forward in the episode?
Okay, so one theory, and this is probably the most straightforward one,
Okay.
is that she staged her own disappearance.
Like a hoax.
Yeah, maybe she wanted to disappear for whatever reason,
Right.
and she came up with this whole elaborate story.
To throw people off her trail.
Exactly, but I have to say, the more I think about it, the less likely that seems.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so elaborate and so specific.
Mm-hmm.
The 911 call, the locked apartment, the message on the mirror, it all feels a little too orchestrated for a simple hoax.
Right,
But-
and if she was going to stage her own disappearance, why go to all that trouble?
Yeah, wouldn't it be easier to just, quietly slip away?
Exactly. So that theory, I don't know, it doesn't quite sit right with me.
Okay, so what else do they suggest?
Well, there's the more conventional theory of abduction,
Right, someone took her.
but again, the evidence doesn't really support that.
Oh, so.
Well, how did they get in and out of a locked apartment?
Right, good point.
There's no sign of forced entry,
Hmm.
and Olivia was apparently in the middle of a phone call when she disappeared.
So it's not like she would have just let someone in willingly.
Exactly. So that theory also has its problems.
Yeah, it would have to be someone she knew, someone with a key, or someone who could somehow bypass the lock without leaving a trace.
And even then, how do you explain the mirror thing?
Right. The fact that she saw someone in the mirror but not in the room itself.
It doesn't add up.
It does feel like we're missing a piece of the puzzle here.
We are, and that's where things start to get really weird.
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, so they have this paranormal expert on the show,
Okay.
and he suggests that maybe Olivia was pulled through the mirror.
Pull through the mirror, like literally.
Yeah, like the mirror was some kind of portal.
Okay, now that's taking things to a whole other level.
I know, right?
But it does kind of fit with all the weird mirror stuff.
It does, and it would explain how she disappeared from a locked room.
If you can even call it disappearing at that point. I mean, it's more like she was transported somewhere else.
Right, and it's interesting because they talk about this idea of the mirror being a gateway. you know?
Yeah, like a doorway to another dimension or something.
Exactly. And there's all this folklore and mythology about mirrors being, dangerous or magical or whatever.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of superstition around mirrors. Like, you're not supposed to break a mirror because it's 7 years bad luck.
Yeah, or like vampires don't have reflections.
Right. Or Bloody Mary.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of cultural baggage that comes with mirrors.
Yeah, they're definitely not just ordinary objects. There's something inherently unsettling about them.
Yeah, and I think that's why this theory is so compelling, even though it's so out there.
Right. It plays on our deepest fears and anxieties about what might be lurking on the other side of that reflective surface.
And it gets even creepier because there's this detail in the transcript about the security footage from outside Olivia's building.
Okay, what about it?
Well, apparently the last image they have of her isn't of her actually walking out of the building.
Okay.
It's of her reflection in a window.
Wait, so her reflection was caught on camera, but not her?
Yeah, it's like her physical body just vanished.
And her reflection was left behind.
Exactly. And again, we have to rely on the accuracy of the transcript here.
Right, we don't have the actual footage to examine.
But if it's true, it's a really disturbing detail.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of defies logic, doesn't it?
It does. And it seems to support the idea that the mirror or reflections in general played some role in her disappearance.
Right, it's like the reflection became detached from the real person.
And that's just so unsettling to think about.
It really is. It makes you question the very nature of what we consider real and what we can trust our senses to tell us.
So yeah, this case is a lot.
It is. It's fascinating and frustrating and terrifying all at the same time.
Exactly. And I think it's a really good example of how even in the age of technology and information, we still don't have all the answers.
Yeah, there are still mysteries out there that we may never be able to solve.
And maybe that's okay. You know? Maybe some things are better left unknown.
Maybe. But it doesn't stop us from wanting to know, does it?
It doesn't. And I think that's part of the appeal of these kinds of stories.
Hmm.
Is that drive to understand the unknown, to make sense of the senseless.
Yeah, it's a very human impulse.
It is. And it's one that's not going away anytime soon.
So what do you think happened to Olivia?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Me neither. But it's fun to speculate, right?
It is.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're left with at the end of the day. A bunch of unanswered questions and a lot of room for speculation.
And a healthy dose of existential dread.
Yeah, that too.
So for all of you listening out there, what do you think happened to Olivia Reynolds? What element of this story is the most unsettling to you? And why might that detail hold the key to solving this mystery? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below because we'd love to hear your perspective on this truly baffling case.
And until next time, keep diving.
And keep looking over your shoulder when you check the mirror.